Welcome back to Daybreak on Trust Television. If you're just joining us, this is the newspaper review segment where our analysts will be drilling down on some of the issues that have made the covers of the national dailies this morning. We already have a reviewer in the studio, but before then, we would take a quick rundown of most of the dailies we have in the studios this morning. And we are starting off with the Daily Trust newspaper. And in the Daily Trust newspaper this morning, we have a kicker ahead of APC-PDP primaries. Naira crashes further as aspirants mop up dollars. U.S. dollar sells for $5.95 at black market as demand spikes. Experts predict dark days. And BDC operators blame politicians. You will have also on the cover an elegant photograph of the president and recipients of the 19th National Productivity Day celebration. Some notable faces therein. The chairman of Zenith Bank, we have the Kogi State governor there. We have Allen Onyema of Air Peace and quite a number of other Nigerians who picked up the award yesterday at the presidential villa. We also have directly below that Sultan Tambuwal Kuka condemned killing of student accused of blasphemy. You'll find that story on page 6. And below that we have Petrol Agency counters marketers, says 558 billion naira paid in 6 months. Kaduna councillor arrested with AK-47 near kidnappers den. That story is on page 26. And we have Bauchi Emir denies endorsing Oshibajo. You'll find that story on page 10 of the Daily Trust newspaper. And directly below the name marks is what appears clearly as the second lead of the paper. Nigerians can have a heart attack. I am having a lot of fun, says Emefiele. INEC malls relocation of sensitive materials from the Central Bank of Nigeria. These stories you'll find on pages 5 and pages 10 of the Daily Trust newspaper.
Oh, really very interesting stories, I must say here. And we have our reviewer here in the studio as usual. On Fridays, we get to have him here, Nuruddin Abdullah. He's the editor
of 21st Century Chronicles, yes. The last time we said editor-in-chief and he declined that position. So now we have gotten that nomenclature correct. Thank you very much for finding time to be with us in the studio once again. It's another beautiful Friday, and I hope it is for you as well. You have listened to the major stories on the covers of the Daily Trust. What do you make of this incessant rush for the dollar every time? You would wonder whether the dollar is a ballot paper for the next election. Let us have your thoughts on this mopping up of the dollar.
Yes, it is not surprising, bearing in mind that INEC has fixed June 3rd as the final day for the submission of candidates. And almost all the two major parties, we have 18, are apparently going for primaries. It may not surprise you that, they are going for dollar, because if you look at the prices of the expression of interest as well as the nomination forms for the ruling party, it is 100 million naira. For the opposition PDP, it's around 40 million. So, and you look at it, they are now nation trotting, right? Country trotting, not globe trotting, seeking for delegates. So the delegates, they're
priced in dollars.
That ambitious brides. Of course, that is it. So you have to have enough dollar. It's easy to package and give instead of the naira. Maybe the delegate will tell you, we trade in naira, not in dollar. So that explains it.
Is there nothing we can do? I mean, you and I know that this has been going on for too long. Well, not like even if it's offered in naira, it's still not proper. Is there nothing we can do to, as much as possible, reduce the influence of money in this whole electoral process to the barest minimum?
Not in the nearest future after Sunday, realistically, because if all the ingredients of good governance are in place, if, for instance, you campaign to be a senator or House of Reps member from your constituency, and in the last 4 years, you have done so much for your constituents, they don't ask for money, but they know you as a good man. You campaign for them. You didn't give them money, and they voted for you. You squandered that goodwill, just like the Buhari administration. You remember how the government came in? Truck pushers, commercial motorcyclists, downfall drivers, market women. They bought a recharge card and sent to the man, believing that he has what it takes to take them out of the doldrum. But what happened? 7 years and accounting. They have all lost hope. So that is why it is not surprising that the 2023 election has been dollarized. It is not surprising. The man that so much many Nigerians believed in has grossly disappointed them. Like I said earlier, he disappointed everybody minus himself. So now, it is not about, what else can you say? He talk, all the things he said he will do, he won't do, he did them. All the things he promised, he didn't achieve any. So what else? Which cry, again? He cried on the television, right? Crocodile tears. So, you know, Nigerians have been scammed. That's the right word. So they won't be scammed for the second time. No. That is why now, you know, they are just for the highest bidder, right from the delegates. No sweet talk any longer. No. Look at President Buhari. Since 2003, I've been with him. We bought the recharge card for him, the only candidate in the history of Nigeria. They went there without money, goodwill. But where are we today?
So I guess we have to follow the money then.
Apparently, that is it. So it is not surprising that maybe before even in the next 2 weeks, maybe the dollar may kick 1,000. Who knows?
Interesting.
Look at this desperation and what if it.
Interesting.
So it's sad.
Truly, really sad. There are quite a number of stories, thousands of them on our dailies this morning. And one that seemed to be everywhere, you know, is the story that we saw yesterday, you know, in Sokoto, of the killing of a student, you know, by her other colleagues. And then we're seeing that the Sultan, Tambol, and other religious leaders are condemning, you know, that act. In your assessment, how do you see this situation?
You know, that's absolute madness. Yes, madness. She was alleged to have made some uncomplimentary remarks to the Holy Prophet of Islam here. That is an abomination. But there are rules and regulations governing that. Mob action is not one of them. And, you know, it's a recurrent dismal. And I hope, Tambol is a lawyer, despite sometimes the political sentiments that I was discussing with my boss last night. He's a lawyer, yes. And you can see it is nothing but absolute ignorance. Look at, I think he must be the one that was arrested. He been brandishing his ID on one of the videos. And look at the humanity. Zero humanity. Zero, absolute, zero Talibanistic, Boko Haram tendencies. Yes, he committed an offense in your own, you are not the law. And another thing that maybe they would have accepted the situation school authorities should have done is the securities people there should have taken her out of the school. That's what happened in Gombe in the past. When a teacher supervising some students caught one of the students who happened to be a Muslim committing exam malpractice. I think maybe it was an Arabic, whatever, out of here, and she hit something. She brought it out. It was an expo. Then, lo and behold, she shouted, that she has insulted or she has torn a holy whatever. And before you know it, the principal of that school took the lady, the invigilator, and hit her in his own class. Like they burned down the Sokoto security outposts. They burned down the principal's office. We had the same issue in Talata Mafara last year, where a student was burned down. She was hidden by her colleagues. They burned down the room where she was living. So it's a recurring dismal. Therefore, particularly the northern state, there should be effective mechanism put in place to avoid this. You remember what happened in Ribi Market in Kano? The woman trader, somebody did ablution on her, what they call domot, you know. And you know, if you go to those markets, they do ablution and, you know, and just mess up the whole part. And the woman could not complain. She complained, and lo and behold, they said that she committed blasphemy. And some rampaging mobs descended on her, and she was killed. There should be an end to this. The Abrahamic religions that we practice here is not a key to madness, no. All the three prophets that we sent, you know, they made people living like animals, jungle justice, but they ensure divine justice, fairness. So I hope we'll use the case in Sokoto. Those guys must be brought to book. 2 were arrested, and there will be more. So what we expect from the police, particularly the police hierarchy, because in most cases you will see there won't be diligent prosecution. The DPO in charge of the case, for instance, now, the moment he is transferred to another location, that's the end. Or there will be a time that he may not even have the transport money to transport himself to the court. So I believe that the Sokoto State government has a stake here. The police headquarters here in Abuja has a stake here. There should be diligent prosecution so that we will put an end to this madness.
Something of a very important note listening to you is the fact that sometimes these accusations could even be wrong. But before the person ever gets the opportunity to defend himself or prove his innocence, this mob action has already sniffed life out of his individual. I recall sometimes in about 10 years ago, in 2012, 2011, I was also in the bank. I was billed to travel for some sensitive assignment. And I came in, and a cleaner who did not show up for work early came in and disrupted the computers from where I was supposed to print out sensitive documents to embark on a very important journey. That was around when AMCON was mopping up bad debts from the bank, and we were preparing documentations of what debts were to be taken. And I said to him, Shay is his name, from Bauchi, what you are doing is wrong. You should have showed up here much earlier. Now you are disrupting, you've shut down the computers. If I'm unable to do this earlier, I'm unable to get the flight, this transaction is dead on arrival. And he said, well, that's my business. I came in when he was supposed to be cleaning. And I said, no, you wouldn't say that to me, because overall, if we don't make money in the branch, you don't get paid. And when his superiors come around, he told them that I was blaspheming the Prophet Muhammad. And some junior staff was to jump on it until a sensible person said to them, but this person has never disrespected us before. Why would a lowly rated cleaner come up with a complaint that is not investigated and we jump on it? And luckily, the CCTVs were on. That was my saving grace. You know, so that's the importance of getting the opportunity to have your say, you know, before any kind of action is taken upon you. It's a sensitive thing in this country, and we must find a way to check jungle justice. I hope, like you rightly mentioned, the governor is a lawyer. That is the seat of the caliphate, and condemning it is the first thing, you know, and the police have done some arrests. We hope that we move on from there to achieve some kind of result with that. We move on to This Day newspaper, and on the cover of This Day newspaper is also keeping touch with what is happening in the political sphere. We have the major story: 24 hours after presidential directive to political appointees to resign, Emefiele meets Buhari. That was one prominent feature yesterday coming out from there. And the riders there read, AGF, INEC honor court summons as PDP orders join CBN governor's suit. Court orders accelerated hearing. FG direct ministers, heads of agencies, ambassadors, other appointees nursing political ambition in 2023 to resign. Afenifele Hayes Buhari charges him to be decisive too in tackling Nigeria's problem. And you'll find a picture of one of Nigeria's finest judges in the Supreme Court, Justice Mary Odili, as she bows out yesterday from the Supreme Court, and beside her is the former governor of Rivers State and also her husband, Peter Odili. How time flies, and she doesn't look 70 at all in that picture, if you like. At the top of the paper, right above the name marks, you have Buhari signs 3 bills to fight terrorism, money laundering, and other financial crimes into law. The rider just read, vows to rid Nigeria of menace of terrorism. FG, Nigeria's winning war against bandits and terrorists. And then below that you find 2023 APC presidential appearance working on landmines. You find a story on page 5. Whatever these landmines are, I'm sure the story would reveal in detail. And right below the name marks, you have the story also 2023. Saraki vows to fix Nigeria's security and economic challenges. He was speaking yesterday to a number of delegates. You'll find that story on page 42. And directly below that, you find the story, questions mount over MTN alleged payments of 618 billion naira taxes to the FIRS. As this day checks uncovers discrepancies in actual amount, parties' reluctance to offer any explanation. And by this, I suppose it's both the FIRS and the MTN group. I hope some kind of hanky-panky is not taking place to the detriment of the Nigerian government. Following threat by Islamic extremists, Atiku delete Facebook, Twitter post condemning Deborah's mother. Amazing. Amazing. These are the major stories you'll find on the cover of the Daily Trust. What did you make of that CBN governor's visit to Buhari yesterday? What does this signpost, especially given that it was coming shortly after the presidential directive and the kind of comments that he made, upon coming out of that engagement with the president?
So you see, I couldn't actually, as a politician seeking our votes, that comment that his critics, that is we, that are saying that no, why can't Naira crash when the man who is supposed to stabilize it is busy politicking? Yes, that's the question we should ask.
But it has been crashing even before he started politicking.
It's worse now. It's worse now.
Yeah.
So, the audacity of the governor, particularly the way he talked, see, he was coming from the presidential villa, not a pub.
That's right.
You understand? So that, okay, we that criticize him can go to hell. We should have attack. No. He's a public servant. We have the right to ask what he does. He's controlling our economy. If he's in Zenith Bank, for instance, even Zenith Bank, he is responsible to the shareholders. So I think his comments were derogatory and uncomplimentary and despicable, particularly somebody who is seeking our votes to lead us. So if he gets there, what else can he do? Everything goes in Nigeria. So we are happy with what the president did the day before yesterday. Yes, he woke up from his slumber after the almost government has been grounded. Like I mentioned, sometimes, 62 Nigerians, law-abiding Nigerians, are still with the terrorists. This is getting to 50 days. Almost 2 weeks after the presidential directive to the security agencies to rescue them. The minister supervising the agency where they were abducted is busy running from one state of the federation to the other, canvassing for votes.
Maybe he needs presidential powers to be able to free those who were adopted, perhaps.
there was a directive, you mentioned it here. He gave the directive almost 30 days after the abduction. And now getting to 50 days, there is no news. The Junior Minister of Education, a professor, ASU has done 3 months. Our younger brothers are still at home, and now they have another warning strike. They have just lasted here for another 3 months. And he's busy. He has the audacity to sit in that office and be saying that he wants to be president. The minister who should resolve the conflict between the workers and the federal government is running from one pole to the other, trying to be president. That's the Minister of Labor. So I think maybe the president has been, he respects outsiders more than he respects Nigerians. Maybe some embassies and some foreign leaders complain to him. It's not the president. You are embarrassing your country. Almost all your key ministries, including the CBN, unprecedented. Imagine a chancellor of the Exchequer in the United States, in the UK, vying to be a member of the House of or the president of the chairman of the Federal Reserve in the US, joining the Democratic race or the Republican race. No. Even if there are no outright laws that prohibit those, morally, because in Nigeria we moralize, but our actions are grossly immoral. You should know that no. CBN controls is in the custody of the sensitive and materials, and the guy in charge wants to be president. How about?
Do you now subscribe to Sheikh Hussaini's call that we move sensitive materials to the Imam? And the pastor for safekeep now that the Caesar of the Apex Bank is an interested party.
But the problem with Imam, they are busy endorsing these politicians.
But some of them have stayed true to their callings on the pulpit.
Okay, now which church? Okay, let's give it to church. Are we giving it to the Catholic, or are we giving it to Pentecostal? When you come to Pentecost, is it the Redeemed? Are we giving it to? Or are we giving it to the Baccharis Church?
Amazing. Amazing how to look at those perspectives.
So actually, we don't know why he told the president yesterday. And I'm happy that the president was so livid with anger on Wednesday. The way he spoke. And that judgment, that's Court of Appeal judgment. It came with dual pronouncement. The court said something, and quickly they contradicted themselves. The man that went to with due respect to her lordship in Abakaliki, that granted that judgment. Is it Abba? Okay, it's Abba. Oh, no wonder. That lady, her lordship in Abba, that granted that ordered Attorney General to delete Section 84, Section 12, The Supreme Court, the Court of Appeal did the right thing. They said that the guy that took the matter to that one has no locus, has no business. Husband and wife are fighting. Then you institute a suit seeking for divorce on behalf of the wife. As who? That's exactly what the man did. They call it meddlesome interloper.
Well, maybe as a vanguard for the protection of democracy, if you like.
So, after that, we're happy. Then they said that they look at the case on merit. That Abba, lordship in Abba Market, Abba Court, get an order that the Attorney General should delete the section immediately. But the Court of Appeal yesterday, on Wednesday, said they look at the case, apart from saying that man, they dismissed the entire thing was a nullity because the man has no locus. That's why even if you have to take a matter to a court, it has to be court of competent jurisdiction. You understand? Then when they said they look at the matter on its merit and said that what the National Assembly members did was entirely unconstitutional. But we're happy that there was no consequential order. It was just a pronouncement, but there was no consequential order.
Setting aside
that order. So we are happy that before the president's men, the MFLF, the Malamis, and what if you went and confused Baba, he quickly sent that circular. And it's a service-wide circular. Ambassador, he rope up everybody. Ambassadors.
And there are quite a number of them actually in Abuja, as we know. The head of agency.
They have left their mission and they are now moving.
They are operating from Siberia.
Do you see him resigning? Or where do you see this?
What do you mean?
The way things are happening now, his tenure ends June 4th, 2024. He has 2 solid years remaining. So it's a gamble. Is he the anointed candidate? I think only that maybe if he drinks, that he will step down as CBN governor, go to that primaries, and lose again.
So apparently, in drawing conclusions, you are suggesting that he could have sounded that arrogant because he has concluded to stay back.
Apparently.
Really interesting.
Yes, apparently.
Interesting.
Because he's not the anointed candidate, apparently. If he were the anointed candidate, he can insult us and go free. But you say that we should go to hell, we should have an attack. Simply because we are saying, Mr. CBN governor, no.
When he says heart attack is good.
It's good for him.
Okay, let's take a look at some more papers this morning. Taking a look at the Nigerian Tribune. And the Nigerian Tribune leads with quite a different story, I must say. The issue of the alleged blasphemy, outrage over killing of female student in Sokoto. Police arrest 2. Government meets Khan. And then Sultan Kuka wants perpetrators brought to justice. And then you find other stories on the Nigerian Tribune, right at the top on page 5. Pilot daughter of ex-minister, 10 others die in plane crash. And then there's a writer there that says why we can't investigate crashed plane. AIB, it's coming from the AIB. Details of that story is on page 5. And on page 3, 2023, SGF writes ambassadors, heads of parastatals, others with political ambition to vacate seats. Ngige hopeful of fruitful end to strike as ASU, SANU, NASU, NAT, NLC meets federal government team. You'd find other stories as well. On page 3, Ohaneze, Pandef, knock PDP for throwing presidential ticket open. Then 32 states, 233 local governments risk flood disasters. Federal government warns. INEC to adopt manual electronic transmission of result. Okay. Details of that is on page 2. And then federal government licenses 12 new private universities. Universities now to decal 30% of curriculum. This is according to the NUC. And on page 2, you'd see where MFL is saying, I'm having fun, let Nigerians have heart attack. Keep a date with Destiny on May 29, Bello campaign, DG, divulges. And then you see Tinubu saying, I don't know where others are running to. I'm running to the villa. That's very, sounds really assuring, I must say. And that's on page 3 on the Nigerian Tribune. And on page 3 also, you see my ambition is to fill gaps left behind by Buhari. This is according to Bayemi. These are the major stories on the Nigerian Tribune.
Interesting. Again, we have the story of the outrage over the killing in Sokoto, which we have sufficiently dealt with with comments from our analyst, while taking a look at the first paper. But here, another story that is of interest here is Ngige, hopeful of fruitful end to strike as ASU, SANU, NASU, NAT, NLC meets FG team. He's one man who should have also put in his paper, but we understand he is here to raise the 100 million naira. I wonder if this is an assignment he's able to deliver, given that he's running against time, haven't publicly admitted he would contest. Do you think this conversation with these bodies have served out its relevance as far as these ministers are concerned and should be elevated to more senior government functionaries?
The government is not serious. If the government cannot What else can the government tell ASU, for instance?
Well, the Senate President said yesterday that the 2009 demand of ASU is unrealistic, 13 years after.
13 years after. I don't want to use some complimentary. He's a Muslim, I don't think he drinks. So, yes. We borrowed money from the Bretton Woods and IMF, right? You signed these agreements. So 20 years after, you say you won't pay. You have to renegotiate. Isn't it absurd? All the loans this government made, have they renegotiated them? Or have they said that it is absurd to implement agreement, bilateral or multilateral agreements reached by President Obasanjo's regime, Eradua's regime, or Jonathan's regime, or even by military regimes? No. It simply shows you the Senate President's sons and daughters are not in public universities. If not, you don't have the audacity to say that. And surprisingly, before 1999, he was in University of Maiduguri as a teacher. If he were still there, you don't have said this. Again, come to think of it, we're talking about 200 billion. We are talking about UTAS instead of IPPS. The academics said it, and they are right. You can't just lump up everybody. We are not civil servants per se. We have all manner of allowances if you work in the system. So create our own payment system. That's what they're saying. They created one. You remember what happened in NIDA and what if you? 200 billion. We are spending over 4 trillion naira on subsidy alone. And there are still fuel shortages, queues, and threats from all stakeholders in the industry. What does it take? If I were the president, 200 billion, I will use my ways and means. Go with your wahala. But you can't come 7 years after and be saying that the agreement reached with your predecessor is a nullity. Impossible.
Interesting to also note that the Senate President has also picked his form to run for the presidency. It's just that, just like Tinubu is saying, he doesn't know where they're running to. We are not sure where he's running to because he has two forms, one running to the Senate and the other one running towards Aso Rock. I hope that he's not already giving us a manifesto of what he will do once he becomes the president as far as issues like this.
If you, if you accuse, look at this ASU issue. Yes, because most of the young men are Facebook generation. They don't see beyond. If it is not on Facebook or it's not on Twitter, now it's even Instagram. They can't even read. More than a picture, nothing else. That's how we have been reduced to. Look at it. ASU is the only labor union in the country that has not been compromised. NLC is gone. The military have bastardized it. But ASU remains the only one that you cannot infiltrate. You cannot pack it. Go to all public institutions, universities, both state and federal. The only new structures you see are from TED Fund.
Right.
Who fought for the establishment of TED Fund and ensuring that only an academic, not a politician, a failed politician, can lead TED Fund. ASU. Just a simple example. Go to all the universities, colleges of education, what have you. TED Fund, TED Fund, TED Fund. It's one of the spoils of war won by ASU. But now they look at it, they want to, no.
They're trusted.
And see, The Senate president has created one university and allocated it to his village in Gashua. Yes. So,
well, those are issues for another day. We move on to the leadership newspaper for Friday. And on the leadership newspaper, we have a slightly different variant. The major headline there on leadership, it's for abandoning zoning principles, Southeast to dump PDP after 23 years of party loyalty. You'll find that story on page 4 of leadership newspaper. South leaders kick, says party has dug its grave. Atiku, Wike, IM, Obi, Emmanuel intensify consultation. I will be a bridge builder between the North and the South, Saraki declares. And just below the nameplate, quite a number of headlines there. Deborah Tamboa Sultan Kuka appeals for calm, demands justice. Another story there reads, ISIS releases video on execution of 20 Nigerians in Borno. That is shocking. Orderly retires from Supreme Court, backs restructuring. Interesting. Jonathan, not yet registered member, Bayelsa APC, insists. I mean, Jonathan is in today, is out tomorrow, is a ward member, is not a state member, he needs clearance from the national. I mean, Jonathan is everywhere, and you know, just days to the primary election. And we find a picture of the Minister for Interior as well as the Minister for Information there with other persons in that photograph. I think we are unable to. The captions is not exactly very clear, but just next to the picture we find quick notice. Emefiele visit PNB, urges Nigeria to expect news. Well, whether it's continuity or quitting the central bank, time will tell between now and Monday. Ewugas pilot's daughter, 11 others die in plane crash in Cameroon. Wow. Fuel scarcity, FG fault Ipman's 500 billion naira bridging claim. And well, at the top side, you also have another picture of an award from the leadership group to the governor of this, I think is the governor, it's Akwa Ibom State, yeah. Governor of Akwa Ibom State there receiving his award from the leadership group. Talk to us about these threats from the Southeast of dumping the PDP. Dumping the PDP for what exactly? They tell us they would now apply the sit-at-home rule and annihilate themselves basically from the 2023 election. Is this a win-win? I mean, is this the solution or an alternative to what it is right now for the Southeast?
I don't know. You know, yesterday I read the babs between Chief Edwin Clark and Ojo Lokado. They can only dump the PDP if IPOP, as we call it, taken over the political space. Mm-hmm. You know, IPOP has taken over the economic space in the Southeast, mm-hmm. just like they have taken over the security situation. Now I sit at home. Now maybe the politicians must have been taken over by IPOP. They will say that, okay, they're back to go away. Mm-hmm. If you leave PDP, if they leave PDP, for instance, and they get an automatic ticket on APC? No. Again, how many people bought tickets from the Saudis and bought the parties? It is beyond, like I said several times, Mr. Sunday, it is beyond zoning. You can't zone just to lose. There are certain zoning that if you do, it's by 9 o'clock on the election day, your fate is sealed. You have to look at the political ecosystem. You have to look at the political demography of the country. PDP did it in the past. That is why, you know, they break the odds and throw open the presidential ticket. You can't just restrict it to South, for instance. Say, okay, you are presenting Wiki, as the PDP presidential candidate. No. He can't even deliver the South. No talk of the North. The acceptability of a candidate matters. In the South-East, for instance now, how many of their politicians have national outlook?
I found this on the web.
Have national outlook, for instance. I'm not saying minus Okorocha, to a certain extent Oji Uzokalu, maybe Peter Obi. All the rest will go nowhere. So that's the reality. And you know, these people, like I said, in the past, they have made efforts to cross the bridges, to extend hands of friendship to other zones of the country. But you can't come from your village simply because you are Igbo by extraction, and you must be president, and it must be zoned to you. No serious political party will commit that political kamikaze. It's a reality. And that is why even the APC, it's not about them, that's why everybody is buying the form. If they lie, they can do it at home, like IPOP is now destroying the economy. They should think beyond, and unfortunately, like Oji Uzokalu said, some people from the other, like Chief Edwin Clark, it is now that he has seen the vision to say that it is the Igbos that will be president. He didn't make those advocacy in 2011 when he was the, you know, he promoted himself as the father of the president at that time. He didn't make such advocacies in 2011. He didn't do it in 2015 when the thing was in the South. So that's the reality.
Well, we're seeing Saraki saying he will be a bridge between the North and the South. Do you think he has anything like that to offer?
He was Senate president. That's why it's a national something. And you know, bearing in mind the legacy of his father, was former Senate president, you know, in the Second Republic. Maybe he has that clout, you know. He's clinking into something. Just like Bankole. Bankole became, you remember, Bankole became speaker. Not because of Bankole. He was a military officer in the UK. No, but because of his father, who was an MP and chieftain. And what did the father did? He went around the country at the background. Said, this is my son, please support him. And that's what happened. But as you can't just spring up from your sleep or from your village and say you must be. It's just like the women advocacy. Women must be given these women. Whereas the women they constitute the highest number of voters, right? Well, I'm surprised that they don't even vote for their women again. A presidential candidate once got only one vote. At the Eagle Square, I remember that time.
I know how you are quick to remind us of that one vote from the presidential.
You understand?
She probably doesn't have 100 million naira to spend like the men. Have you taken that into account?
Now should have been the rest. So, you know, that's the reality. It simply means that women don't do their homework, just like the Igbos don't do your homework. It's a long process, you understand? Not on the eve of the election. You'll be triggered by some IPOP who don't look at it. I was telling a friend, I said, this IPOP people, I have a neighbor, Kaduna. He's into real estate. My street, he owns so many houses. So there was a time, Wazirike of Masop said that he was sending 20 Marco Polo buses to evacuate all the Igbos back to
the east,
southeast. So I told him, I said, okay, Chief, if the Marco Polo, where is this station in Kaduna here, the one they are sending to Kaduna? Please, if you are going, this is your house, I will take it over. He laughed. He said, that guy is crazy. So he believed that 20 Marco Polo will evacuate the Igbos from the north back to the south. So it's simply somebody who was born and brought up in one Kalagu or one Agbo. He has never even crossed to Abuja, not to talk of the north. So that is the mentality. They don't know Nigeria. Look at just what they saying that, okay, you are advocating. You should come to Abuja, and if, for instance, now the IPOP come to Abuja and say that we shouldn't go to work, businesses should not open, then maybe they will make a political statement. But your village, you stay in your village. Your brother who is selling spare parts, or a market woman who is saying agbo, fish, stockfish, and whatever, you say that you should not sell. Who is deceiving who, for instance? Of what political importance to the advocacy, maybe the agitation, this is? So this is the reality. The Igbos, with all respect, politically they're the minority. You have to align with other groups to make serious. In 2015, it was a good opportunity for them, but they squandered it, you understand? If, for instance, they would have aligned with the APC at that time, during that Buhari mass movement, they have gotten something. And another thing, they should address the issue of unity among them. Let's look at it now. Let's microzone. Let's PDP, for instance, microzone the presidency, let's say, to the southeast. The southeast should produce one candidate. They won't be able to do so. I think
that's where the problem lies.
We saw it during the Obasanjo regime. In less than 4 years, we had about 3 or 4 Igbo Senate presidents. They don't agree among themselves, with all due respect. So there are certain internal things that they should address before you come. And it is not just you just go to sleep on the eve of the election, you come on the pages of the newspaper. No, it doesn't work that way. You have to work. Okorocha has been doing this thing with all due respect, There's somebody that he can go to Kano and campaign freely, and you will see he will gather crowds. He can go to Jos, he can go to Sokoto and whatever. Oji Uzakano, he can go to Maiduguri. Because, over the years, they have created that fellowship.
Right.
Maybe Peter Obi, he's saying with the youth, with what he did in Anambra, for instance. But when you say that, no, it is my ethnicity that will give me this position. No.
No.
Interesting.
I have to wrap up here, unfortunately. It's been very interesting speaking to you about some of this very interesting stories on our dailies this morning.
Thank you, Lena.
It's a pleasure to have you in the studio.
My pleasure, too.
You have a great Friday ahead.
Thank you.
This is where we draw the curtains on the newspaper review for this morning, Friday morning, if you like. We will take a short breather, and when we return, the program continue. Please stay with us.